Hi Devanshu, welcome to Brands, Brews and Banter. Finally, great to have you. How are you doing?
Thank you so much, Harinder, for inviting me to this podcast. I'm doing very well, and I hope you're doing good as well. Also.
Great, folks. So, a lot of you know, you would have seen the show notes and stalked Devanshu already. He heads marketing at Oberoi, but has a rich past of working on like some amazing brands. We'll scratch on them one by one. But Devanshu, I want to start from the top. We spoke a little right before starting to record this. So, as a kid, right, like when you were in school, uh, what मतलब क्या करते थे आप? Other than of course losing to MSM, क्या करते थे स्कूल में?
That's a very nicely tweaked, manipulated statement. मैंने बहुत clearly बोला था कि हमारे batches बहुत different थे, but I had a fond memory of some innocence.
देखो,
But
एपीएस और एपीएस डीके और
ये
एमएसएम में
जाएगी नहीं
किसी की
rivalry.
नहीं, nobody had a fond memory. हम हमारी या कोलंबस वालों की सबकी people say that fond memory सब आपस में लड़ते रहते थे. So of course, like I know we of course had the better sports team. There's no doubt about it, right? Like forever, it's been it's always been that way. So and I don't care if you're a guest on the podcast. जो सत्य है वो तो सत्य है.
20 साल के करियर के बाद ना दाढ़ी सफेद और बाल उड़ाने के बाद ऐसी स्टेटमेंट्स पे मैं सिर्फ यही बोलता हूँ, यस यू आर राइट, फिट योर वे.
हाँ, तो yes you are right के बारे में like I think that's another because another commonality between me and Devanshu is that we worked for the same company. वहाँ काफी कुछ सीखा हमने. Yes you are right बोलना का. ठीक है, उस पर थोड़ा सा कम बात करेंगे, but anyways, so tell me what were you like as a kid though?
So I think at the beginning he spoke that dad was in the army, and हर एक फौजी माँ बाप का सपना यही होता है कि हमारा बच्चा जो भी कर रहा है वो हमसे बेटर करे, नेक्स्ट लेवल पे जाए. आई थिंक देयर वर टू सेगमेंट्स ऑफ पेरेंट्स बैक इन दोस डेज. वन सेगमेंट वाज कि यार आई एम द आर्मी बसिया. My grandfather, my great grandfather, me and my son or my daughter would join the army. Um, the second side is that listen, go whatever, join the merchant navy, join, engineer बन जाओ, MBA कर लो, चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट बन जाओ, कुछ कर लो, कुछ अपनी लाइफ में कर लो, हमारे ऊपर लाइबिलिटी मत बनना. And then there is, I think, a very minuscule small side, which is also encouraging very, very new domains. उस time के लिए I'm talking good, what, 30 years back, इसके अंदर fashion designing and, the whole the lifts world and everything was a very new world. So luckily, I belong to that third cadre because, of course, my dad was very open to army join करनी है कर लो, Air Force करनी है कर लो. I remember your father was in the Air Force, so my dad used to come and make these statements that imagine flying at a speed of some 3,000 miles and you will be son reaching city A to city B in less than 5 seconds. Imagine the adrenaline rush that you would be getting. Of course, army was also a function and a feature and a prospective career opportunity. Also cracked the exams for that, by the way. And then I think I want you to also be a part of the family, which also encourage that listen, if it is fashion is your calling, if chartered accounting is your calling, you please do that. Um, I remember 10th के बाद उस टाइम पे 11th में आप अपने सब्जेक्ट्स चूज करते थे. So I chose mechanical engineering or electrical design. So that ED used to be the subject. I think हमारे टाइम पे मैकेनिकल था और बाद में इंजीनियरिंग ड्राइंग कुछ ऐसा उसका नाम हो गया था. And I remember the next day my dad was in the school, so he never attended much of my PTAs. But वो उस दिन स्कूल जरूर आ गया था. He said, "Listen, darling, giving you a canvas to say that तुम कुछ भी चूज कर लो, तुम कर लो, बट औकात से बाहर मत जाओ. Mechanical drawing is outside your league." So I shifted my subjects to commerce with mathematics. We had a option back in the days to choose additional subjects, and I chose computers. But frankly, computers are very different,
Hmm.
and of course, physical education. I remember we all were probably storytellers. We all had fancy ideas of the world in the school. I'm talking about my 10th, 11th, 12th, especially in APS. The whole idea, the whole concepts were very alien, and we didn't want to do the things in the right way. That
Hmm.
that kick of challenging the status quo probably, you know, came up very, very close to our heart, maybe because of our upbringing. And that was one set of boys or friends, and we had some girls also in the group. We were, I'll not say eclectic, but definitely challenging the status quo. And, in a group of some 10, 12 people, in fact, we could, I think February 12th or 13th, we had a 25th reunion also. I met my old timers. Some of them have become most of them went to the army. Some of them have become very high successfully, well in their careers in the corporate world. Some of them have also gone into the fashion fraternity and have done, and I don't want to take their names, but they have represented the country for Miss India and came in Big Boss and those kind of things. So a
Hmm.
good batch of 99.
Yeah. So of course, like and growing up, did you stay in and around Arjun Vihar or somewhere there?
Oh yeah. So I used to be there from morning to evening because my friends were there. Otherwise, dad got
Yeah.
accommodation in Noida.
Oh, oh, the
So
other side. When DK used to go to Noida.
yeah, yeah. So we were staying in Sector 28, the 40 sector. Uh, During the days, it was all Priya Vasant Kunj, that was school.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
during evening, it was all Arjun Vihar, DSOI, golf course, and that general area.
No, so one thing has stayed constant. I don't know if it's still the same, that everybody in the last 3 decades has had their first drink, first cigarette, first kiss at Priya's for some reason. That is common amongst all Delhi people that I see. मतलब उस जगह की मतलब memories या PTSD सब लेके चल रहे
हाँ, वो हो गई था। तो आजकल की डेट के आज की डे में व्हाट इज अ साइबर हब इन गुड़गांव
हैं।
इज व्हाट Priyas used to be when we were growing up.
Yeah.
तो जगह ही ऑप्शंस ही कितनी थी. How many places you have McDonald's back in those days? Yeah, Priya, I
Exactly.
remember the movie that came Solo. Oh,
Hmm.
hello.
Hmm.
Uh, and you know, watching movies in those open theaters of the open poly theaters to a air conditioned with some very plush seating was my first experience in PVR. So एक बार वो experience मिल गया, then you yearn, what do you do to enjoy that more and more in your life?
Yeah, उसके बाद नहीं जा रहा कोई रॉक्सी थिएटर वापस देखने को. Priya, Priya is like, and I think that's where, right? Like, and I'll talk about a little bit about luxury also, right? You have a unique insight. Like, there's no reverse gear in life. Like, once you go to PVR, you're not going back to Roxy Theater or whatever else, right? But we'll take it step by step. So from there,
Sure.
completing your studies, ये मारुति कैसे पहुंच गए?
Internship में select हुआ.
हम्म.
And like any other kid, I thought कि ठीक है, 2-4 प्रोजेक्ट देंगे, सुबह से शाम तक बिठाएंगे and things will be
हम्म.
good.
हम्म.
I was also getting a stipend, so I was very excited क्योंकि you know pocket money तो किसका ही आज तक पूरा हुआ है. So
हम्म.
this money was definitely much more than my pocket money. God had its own path for me. I was one of the lucky ones to get selected for a very, very valuable project. मारुति वर्षा निकाली थी उस दिनों के अंदर. मारुति ने अमिताभ बच्चन, जया बच्चन, अभिषेक बच्चन and the family was there. The car had bought. So they wanted to look at इसको कैसे ठीक करना है, how do you look at rebranding. So that's where, the marketing came on my face for the first time. Both the devils of marketing, जिसके अंदर पता लगा कि यार हाँ, ये कैसे स्टडी करके उसको कैसे उसके अंदर नुआंसेस होते हैं, उसको कैसे एनालिसिस बना के सीनियर ऑफ कोर्स आई वाज एन इंटर्न, सो सीनियर्स के साथ रन करके that presentation that team is doing, you are basically helping them with the data and stuff.
हम्म.
वो वाला काम देखा. The other nuances of marketing, I don't know if I should say it on record, but certain things were presented to me in my room in a dry state. Just because I just made a statement that यार मैं तो first time अपनी life में ऐसे बाहर निकला हूँ, सूरत गया था मैं
हम्म.
for the same study, and I
Yeah.
had a excellent time. So I think that's where my introduction with marketing actually happened for the first time.
Mm. Yeah, we'll discuss about the things that were introduced to you in your group. I'll tell you what, like, so I did this event in Ahmedabad, right? And this was, I was working in a air conditioning company. Summer में dealer वाले event होते थे. So same, so sales team को बोला कि यार देखो क्या करना है अभी. So like then I got to know there are two ways to do it. One is you figure out, right, your people who live on the fringes of law, and the other way it is you get a proper excise permission. सो अभी हमने कहा ठीक है वो करेंगे. सो होटल के अंदर ही देयर इज लाइक अ बार. सो यू लाइक ओके लेट्स गो एंड लाइक ट्राई दिस आउट. So you get a proper card which says you need to give your boarding pass and where you're staying. You can't stay with the local, right? Hotel का दिखाओ and everything. You need to do all that. So उसमें the form said शराबी का नाम, शराबी के बाप का नाम, and something like that. And eventually you get that, and then you're able to. So I still have it. So I was like, that is
Oh,
one of my मतलब मेरे मेरे management training का करने का. That's one of the things which I still have, and I quite treasure it. But yeah, so you were there for a short while, right? And then you moved on to Naukri. So what was that transition like?
so yeah, I think that was a very dark night in my parents' house back in the days, because imagine a school teacher mother and a army father and a brother who's studying engineering, and the elder brother is getting a full time in Maruti but rejects it to pick a full time job in a company called InfoEdge. InfoEdge तो चलो किसी को पता नहीं था, सबको जो थोड़े बहुत लोगों को पता था वो naukri.com पता था. Now my story was very simple. I met Sanjeev, who's the founder of the company, and he had some excellent vision, and I just felt so driven to be a part of it. And so much so, I mean, चलो ठीक है, वो तो driven and everything was one angle. The other stupid angle also was कि अरे naukri.com है तो सारी कंपनी आके यहाँ पे हमारे को चूज करेगी, तो maybe some top MNCs will come and say कि अच्छा चलो इनको चूज कर लो, तो ये सोच के तो पहुंच गए naukri.com. And my parents thought कि क्या कर रहा है पागल हो गया, like like I said, it was a dark night because I got a lot of mentoring and a lot of yarn that why I should definitely pursue my career with ROT. And typically, we Fauci kids are obedient kids. I was always a yes dad, yes mom kid. But I think probably that was the first time I said, no, I'm not going to do it. I just want Naukri.com. अब उन्होंने बोला क्या है तुम्हें Naukri.com? I again said the same thing which Arinder, I just told you, the spiel, consistently picked in the whole charisma that threw me there. But in reality, यही चल रहा था, अरे Naukri.com है तो चलो ठीक है. Let's join Naukri.com. Maybe I'll get some interesting company to join me because उस time में पता नहीं है ना what do you want in life. In fact, I don't know even today if I know it or not, but definitely better than 22 years back. So this was that stage that you wanted more, you were aspiring, you were driven, you had that energy. So you did something, and things just started getting into place there. InfoEdge, in fact, Naukri.com opened up another sister concern, Jeevansathi.com. And for Jeevansathi, we were actually 4 people picked up from the core team of Naukri. I was picked up from marketing, and I was managing the marketing for Jeevansathi and all the. So it was a buyout that had happened because our promoter had some stake in one of his partners, who's Deep Kalra, the Make My Trip guy, and one more person who was sitting in the States. So pura migration, rebranding, relook and feel and everything. So the 4 people, of course, one was the boss. Sorry, 5 people. One was the boss, then it was me marketing, then there was a creative chap, and 2 IT guys who were basically working on the migration, the coding, and this and that. And very soon we had a Jeevansathi also. Things became prettier only because the company grew very fast. There was 99 acres which gave up. And uske baad there was no looking back. And again, मैं पहले कह रहा था ना, when I gave you the whole Surat example, that there were certain, I didn't say incredulous, there were certain things kept in the room for my consumption, which was not supposed to be had in that state.
Hmm.
The same thing happened because, आप तब तक सीख तो चुके थे, आपका हैंडशेक तो मार्केटिंग से हो ही गया था. So
Uh,
as a marketing lead, I said, ऐसा ठीक है, बजट तो है नहीं, अब
yeah.
जीवन साथी का तो ऐड भी चलाना है.
Uh,
So, we were all group of Andy, Dandy, Sandy, at least we thought we were all Casanovas. तो हमने अपनी मॉर्निंग अपने बॉस के कैमरा से करवाई उसी को बोल के. और हमने अपनी पिक्चर्स के वहाँ पे डिजिटल कैंपेन चला दिए, ईमेल्स चला दिए, जिसका सबसे ज्यादा क्लिक रेट आया, ओपन रेट आया. तो हमने फुल टाइम मॉडल बना दिया. चार्ज की बात देखो, आज की डेट में 20 साल बाद मैं बैठ के यही बोल रहा हूँ. Because best CTRs and everything that came up were for my pictures. So in fact, all the ads, in fact, आज recent जो ad अभी देखा है जीवन साथी पे, अब शायद बंद हुआ होगा, जिसके अंदर वो
yeah.
सेहरा लेके भाग रहा है, लड़की
Uh,
का बाप हर लड़के के पीछे. The
yeah.
final person who gets selected is me. So you
Nice.
end up doing these things to give you that quirkiness that कि चलो.
Yeah, बात है यार. I love that. Like I was seeing like that point in time there were all of these like landmark films, Hari Sadhu and some of the other Jeevan Sati work that you spoke of. But this is like
Yeah.
more special, right? Like you're on the asset. देखो भाई मैं तो नहीं try करने वाला. तो so I'm sure
So
and it worked out for you, huh?
it worked out for me. So about it's basically looking at the audience now.
Hmm.
And we discussed before this as who are the people who are listening you. I mean, your channel is also gaining popularity over the last few this thing what we were talking.
Hmm.
Uh, so अगर यहीं पे मैं एक जॉब इंटरव्यू पे बैठा होता, I would have spoken about Hari Sadhu or other campaigns that I did in Jeevan Sathi or 99 or my rest of my career. But this is
Yeah,
something which we wanted to catch up and connect as to who the real people we are. So of course there was
absolutely.
science behind it, which I mentioned कि CTRs लिखे, हमने
Uh,
वो अपनी फोटो शूट करवा के. But the reality is that you get to do these crazy things because you are managing marketing for that. So
yeah.
things went fine.
Very cool, very cool. That's a good this thing. And then you move on to Yatra. I'm sure there would have been a great stint. But what was Times Internet like kind of doing in 2007, 2008? But I'm sure what I be the meaning of what the internet means and what marketing on the internet means would also be landmark very, very different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
like just
not only
take me
was it very
through.
different, sorry, repeat that.
Yeah, I'm saying just take me through what was on your head, what were client expectations, what were publisher expect like overall ecosystem kaisa tha of say digital marketing, especially with that player.
So, if you want a very real answer, the real answer is that so of course, Yatra was a, wonderful stint. Like, I met my now wife in Yatra only. She was a consultant there. But वो
Nice.
उसके माँ-बाप ने बोला ये yatra.com क्या है? ऐसे तो नहीं चलेगा, कहानी शादी नहीं हो सकती है. तो when Times of India called me, I was like, चलो ठीक है, एक a branded, established, bigger company throwing more money. Let's just join that and then get married. So that's the real story of how India Times or Times Internet happened. But jokes apart, I think it was a very interesting time for me because the company and try to put the Amazons, the Flipkart, the Mintras, etc. away from your mind or even a Facebook or a uh, Instagram, etc. away from your mind and get into that dark ages of the Indian internet. And internet was just picking up, So from a Rediff P4U, we had migrated to a Google. There were new searches happening. AdSense had come into the country. We were getting certifications and training new people, training kids to tell them how do you work. This was a time when you were hire people of webmaster जो link exchange करते थे SEO building में. I'm sure, I don't know if you've done that, तब तक I'm sure algos change हो गए होंगे, but I'm talking way beginning 2000 early 2000s की मैं बात कर रहा हूँ. So Time had a very clear-cut mandate. So they said that listen, the time is very clear that the penetration of print media is gonna downfall. So while we will take initiatives to push it, but at the same time, what is it that we do? No, this was I was talking about a time when you will have to. It will be slightly difficult, but imagine a time when there was no Instagram or a Facebook. Google had been introduced. There were some new activities that we started learning. Rediff ka P4U aata tha. India Plaza was the hottest website back in those days. And if you are trying to understand as a youngster, getting new technology, understanding you knew, this formulation of Google being a verb, ये उस टाइम पे theory coin हुई नहीं थी, हो रही थी. So this was that whole time. The time comes with a perspective of doing something big in e-commerce, trying to drive more avenues on content. I think that's how the whole journey interested and I was a part of it. It was definitely a growth. I think I joined them as to lead their alliances and sales vertical, and then eventually I became the business head for e-commerce. Over the time, बहुत different था. So I remember कोई 250-300 करोड़ का P&L था मेरे शायद मेरी उससे कम ही था. The company had different visions, the company had different perspectives. So after being with them for a good 6 years plus, I decided to part ways and I shifted my base to Bombay, where I joined Reliance Land slightly ahead of time before you. So if you would have met at some IT universe at that point of time. So I've somehow felt that, as a marketer, it's very interesting that, in my opinion, a marketer should be a marketing first kind of a person, not an industry first kind of a person.
Absolutely.
Whether you're a B2C guy or you're a B2B guy or you're a retail guy or a newspaper guy or a listings guy or in my current role a hotel guy, you should understand how to detect the pulse of your customer. Now, the customer in a B2C environment would be any person who's willing to either subscribe or, in my current case, let's say, pick up a hotel room night, or in Reliance, pick up a branded t-shirt, etc. Or in a B2B structure, make that other brand or that other business be a customer, that what is it that they are looking for, that you can do that handshake properly. And I think with that philosophy, I have worked in my career and I've realized that, uh, one is that if I look at my career, I've never joined a competitor. Uh, you know, when you change jobs and you shift jobs, एक्चुअली जो आपने 2 साल, 3 साल, 4 साल में आपने कमाना है, वो आप जॉब ही इसलिए चेंज करते हो क्योंकि आप वो 3 साल, 4 साल पहले जॉब ले लेते हो. अगर आपको कंपनी की ग्रोथ के अंदर 5, 10, 15, 20 मिल रहा है, तो आप जूनियर लेवल्स पे सीधा 30-40% में जॉब मारते हो. इवेंचुअली आपको 3-4% मिल रहा होता है इंक्रीमेंट एंड देन आप स्ट्रेट अवे 10-12% मारते हो, तो आप 3 इयर्स अहेड हो जाते हो. बट विद दैट आल्सो द complexity of learning a new environment, making fresh alliances with colleagues, taking understanding the DNA of an organization, and then try to धीरे धीरे घुस के अंदर to make an impact felt. वो दो मतलब pros and cons दोनों रहते हैं उसके इसके अंदर. So somehow in my career I've been an industry agnostic person. I've always given marketing as the larger function for myself. The rest of the things are support. तो आज की डेट में आपने सब्सक्रिप्शन बढ़ानी है, पेपर बिकवाना है तो आप वो कर लो. Cultivate and then somebody else comes to me and says, these are the things that I need to sell. वो आपकी 4 P's के फंडास बेसिक वही रहेंगे, आपकी वो स्टडी और आपका कस्टमर जर्नी आपका वही रहेगा, and you should be able to adapt yourself to that particular requirement. Is something I believe in, and that's why after a good long tenure of setting up e-commerce, I think probably ahead of time, because in its second part, when I moved from the head of alliances to a business head role, I remember meeting the German brothers of Jabong. Myntra, of course, was coming up. Amazon was coming up. Flipkart started with their books. I remember a very beautiful ad of some mice. I remember and they're having a conversation and they were introducing the store. And that was the ad. When Kunal Behel, the Snapdeal guy, the model that he brought up, वो पहले लेकर आया था वो Groupon करके एक मॉडल था. I don't know.
Yeah.
Have you heard about
Yeah,
Groupon.com? It
nearby
used to
is this thing, na?
Hmm?
Nearby was Groupon पहले ना, so Ankur Warikoo only was leading it, ना?
हाँ, बट वो मैं ग्रुपॉन वो इंडिया में आया उसकी बात नहीं कर रहा. आई एम सेइंग एज़ अ कॉन्सेप्ट जब वो यूएस के अंदर आया,
Yeah.
उसको this guy got it as a concept of selling one product. He had his father's company, I think was called Money Saver or something, I don't remember. So with that business, he wanted to do something like that.
Hmm.
But imagine, वो भी पानी की तरफ flow किया, agility थी. And at the same time, agnostic था, not stuck up to one particular, जैसे मैंने industry का example दिया.
Yeah,
As a business leader, as a visionary, he was also not stuck to कि मैंने यही करना है. From there, he went to a platform, he went to a marketplace and made history with his family. Whatever happened with the investors and things did not happen, that's a different story.
yeah,
But at least, today we are talking about him, definitely means he was a successful entrepreneur or a businessman.
absolutely. I'm sure he made his money, no, at the end of the day. And वही फर्क पड़ता. Like since we spoke about Reliance, like I'll tell you one of the lessons that I learned as they were slightly longer, was that somebody said, and this is an old Reliance hand, right? Somebody said that was the only reality in life is what is credited to your account. बाकी सब बकवास है. Like बहुत सही है, and like this is like coming off the all of these lofty ideals ना, that you learn either as a फौजी kid or as a B schooler या जो भी ये सारा ये सारा बायस जो आप लेके आते हो, मैंने कहा बॉस ये सब कुछ नहीं है, डेजिग्नेशन जो चाहिए रख ले, ये टीम दो चार और ले ले, मतलब like all of these other markers, right, of progress that we kind of surround ourselves with. I think one of the biggest values that boss markets are very efficient over a long term to make sure that manpower is priced at the right level. Short term, there can be fluctuations. You may be overpriced or underpriced on basis how this thing, but over a long period of time, markets are super efficient. So you are where you're supposed to be. So that's the only thing you should be careful. So it's like, oh, ये तो बिल्कुल ही mental model change है. So yeah, I'm sure if you one gauges, like not that like I'm qualified to say anything about Kunal Bell succeeding, not succeeding, or Kunal Shah having a great business or not great business. These folks have made money, right? They've created value for investors, for employees. So some value has been created. ज़्यादा हो सकती है, नहीं हो सकती. That's like beside the point, right?
That's beside the point, correct?
Mm.
Yeah, but see, there's another difference at it. Now, at a corporate level, and at a professional, not corporate, at a professional level, yeah, so you become you don't have the balls or the guts to do something what these guys did, right? I'm sure they must have had their struggles before they actually reached where they are. In fact, Kunal Shah, you were talking about credit, right? Maybe in this one of this last उसके LinkedIn के ऊपर वो जो आते हैं, I think he still feels that there's so much to do. But I think the same journey that you are as good or as bad as your 30 day when your salary is accounted to you. I think for a person like me or any other person who doesn't feel that they're ready to embark on that path to start giving jobs by becoming an entrepreneur, I think दो चीजें मेरे ख्याल से ध्यान रखनी चाहिए. One is don't become too expensive before time because it is just a matter of seconds that something goes wrong and you look like a dark number there and restructuring, reorganization starts happening. So it's good to go. It's definitely, but let not be the negotiations just be linked on monies. I mean, jokes apart, उम्र मजा आता है सुन के कि वो इतने 10-20-30% के ऊपर जंप लेके जा रहे हैं. But ultimately, if आप अपने टाइम के हिसाब से ज़्यादा स्लो ग्रो कर रहे हो,
Mm.
कुछ गड़बड़ है। हो सकता है वो गड़बड़ आप ही है।
Yeah.
अगर आप उससे ज़्यादा बहुत ज़्यादा ग्रो कर रहे हो,
Mm.
तो अगेन कुछ ना कुछ गड़बड़ कहीं न कहीं तो है बिकॉज़ कोई बैठा नहीं हुआ जस्ट टू थ्रो मनी। Unless you are the 1%, 2% of the people who are phenomenally intelligent.
Yeah.
So it's good to be in a happy medium is I think what I feel. And that's for number one. And number two, I just feel कुछ भी करो. This is a very unclish ज्ञान that I'm going to say, but I have learned in my life, irrespective of the organization that you work, there could be times that the organization doesn't respect people, doesn't respect you. I think the true test of your character is that you are somebody who's humble and respecting. I think till the time these are the two cores because इसके ना long term benefits बड़े रहते हैं because that's where the market, पहले वो लगता था movies में देख के my reputation precedes me, सोचते थे कि चलो हमने कौन सा हीरो बनना है, my reputation will precede you. But over the period of time, once you cross that barrier of 12 years, 15 years, and uh, you realize that you at some level uh, getting into that mentoring zone where people are looking up to you, where people are wanting to talk and learn from you. I think these some common values really help you in the long run to become a president for your career.
No, I really like it. Again, starting from the first point that you made on be in the right sweet spot now because at the end of the day, if you zoom out, we're all renting our money, right? At least folks like us who are professionals. My wife is an HR, right? So she keeps saying that whenever there's a amazing profile that is like super lowly paid, we immediately start thinking what's wrong. Like that's the first bias. So see, like okay, that's not a place where you want to be. And like you said, the other end of the spectrum is also like as risky and considering. But I think post pandemic layoffs are now so much more. पहले सिर्फ tech में होता था, right? Like that's what we feel. Bank companies would lay off like a lot of people, and like startups would lay off a lot of people because the nature of their business and their capital cycles are just super cyclical. So there's the nature of that business. But I think post pandemic is a reality of like all industries. Like all industries are going to like overhire, and they're going to then trim the fat, and it's going to be like 9 to 18 months of cycles all throughout. So. What's your experience been like? Do you think post pandemic, the way you hire, uh, the way you say rate people, the way you plan careers, do you think that has changed? कुछ change आया उसमें?
I think a broad level, the answer to that question is yes. I think in my view, people are more cognizant of the fact, and this is not only at an entry or a managerial level. I'm talking about a senior manager or a head of a vertical level. People have started becoming more cognizant of the fact that हमारा office हमारे घर से कितना दूर है. Or if I'm happy to uh, stretch myself beyond the number of hours at the office. But then at some level, what is the company doing to ensure that I get a good work-life balance? So, pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, the term of work-life balance, I think, was always there, in my opinion. But पहले ये होता था कि आपका balance is your state of mind. How do you perceive it and how do you push it? Today, there is an expectation of what the HR department or the leadership doing to ensure that that is also bestowed to me. I think that's the fundamental change that has happened. Secondly, I think the the ob- the reason I mean we all got introduced to the work from home culture. Some of the people my wife is a permanently work from home boy since I don't know 10 years now. अगर ऐसे कुछ roles को मैं छोड़ दूं, I got introduced to work from home during this period. Uh, and I struggled, by the way, right? It was not that easy. Today, I can speak to you on an online call. My initial calls, I did not know how to present myself or talk, and it took me some time. So, एक तो वो जो बच्चे थे उस टाइम के अंदर उन्होंने अपनी स्कूलिंग कॉलेज उन्होंने ऑनलाइन किया तो वो तो बाय डिफॉल्ट ही पैदा हो गए एंड दे adapted and they understood the nuances of how working on internet or phone calls or video calls
Yeah.
are going to take place.
Yeah.
उन्होंने बोला कि यार who want me to deliver the work ना अब मैं रात को 10-11 and I'm sure you are also from the same domain when there was some timeline, some event, some mega launch of a campaign that was happening. We were all sitting in the office till 11, 12, 1, 2 बज जाते थे.
Right.
And many a times, at least I have probably just slept there and again worked in the morning and then
Yeah,
gone
yeah.
home and freshened up and then reached back to my
Yeah.
office.
Yeah.
तो वो आज की डेट के अंदर ना वो माइंडसेट मुझे लगता है थोड़ा डिफरेंट हो रहा है.
Right.
People are becoming more practical. They are saying, listen, ये कैंपेन हो रहा है ना, I understand. मैं जाके ये खत्म कर रहा हूँ. I'm connected. But whether I'm sitting there, मैं अपने आप को इनकन्वीनियंस दे रहा हूँ जमीन पे लेटने की, ऑफिस के बाथरूम्स यूज करने की, versus I'm still delivering what I'm delivering, but I'll be doing it at my home. I think that whole thing has become more stronger than what it was. So, and this generation is not shying away. They are actually very openly that maybe there are levels at which they, even at the interview stage, they tell it. Now, when I used to be 20 years younger in my life and I used to be appearing on interviews, शायद इतनी ज़्यादा awareness थी, ना अकल थी, ना ही लगता था कि okay, you know what, let's just focus on the career, let's just focus on the number. ये चीजें तो हम figure out कर लेंगे. That new dimension has come in this generation. Or especially even in other people after that.
What's the worst thing about this? Like, of course, there are great things which have come out of it, but as a senior marketer, do you feel whenever you hire, kuch, you think younger marketers now lose out on a lot of hustle which you saw earlier in your career or some experience? You think what's the negative of kind of having this predisposition for young
I
marketers?
don't I don't feel there is anything negative unless it is bred in the person himself. Many a times when people take it for granted, I think that is something which is the biggest negative that has come, and it's not company driven, it's not team driven, it's the person driven. अगर मैं सोच के ही बैठ जाऊँ कि यार ये तो मेरा जन्म सिद्ध अधिकार है, right? Now that is something which is wrong. Uh, you know, I was speaking about humility a moment back, and I think that thing should not go away. Other than that, I think it's just a changing time. It's absolutely fine. When we were growing up, we were looking at studying our English had to be immaculate. Our grammar should be this. We were being checked. Today, I have a daughter who goes to school, and she would be on her computers, and things like Grammarly are very, very commonly tools. I mean, there is a debate in the school about chat GPTs and Gemini and the other tools whether they should be used or not. But at least आज के अंदर वो grammar पे focus कम है. And initially, I, as a father, used to be after, her school, her teachers, that they should not allow Grammarly. I used to ensure that I spend my time with her to educate her on the various sentence formation and things. But last few weeks I've started to think कि ये सारा काम जो हमने करना था, वो आज की डेट में करने के लिए तो वैसे ही एआई आ गया है। तो अल्टीमेटली अगर वो वाला पीस जो ये करने के लिए एक्सपेक्टेड था, that AI is doing, so then they should actually get trained of managing AI better. ऐसा नहीं है that if becomes a fashion designer or a fashion consultant, all of them are working in marketing, तो कोई rocket science करने के लिए नहीं बचेगा या कोई मार्स पे अपना सैटेलाइट लॉन्च करने के लिए नहीं बैठेगा। What will happen is from the same segment there would be a set of people who are more inclined on science, जो अपने बेसिक फॉर्मूला और विजुअलाइजेशंस में वो एआई के थ्रू करवा के लार्ज लेवल थिंग्स में देखेंगे। So I think that evolution phase will just continue in this environment.
Yeah, it's like a calculator, right? If you think about ChatGPT, it's a new calculator. It'll be like some 50 years back versus doing it manually. मतलब वही फंडा हो गया ना एंड में तो आपने कैलकुलेटर आई डोंट
Correct.
नो मच डिफरेंशिएशन इंटीग्रेशन एंड व्हाटएवर एक्स वाई जेड थ्योरम आई हैव एवर यूज्ड इन माय लाइफ मतलब द ओनली वैल्यू व्हिच लाइक मैथ हैज गिवन मी एज अ मार्केटर इज द नाइटमेयर्स दैट आई स्टिल गेट कि मेरा सिलेबस कंप्लीट नहीं हुआ बस मतलब उसके बियॉन्ड मतलब मेरे को आज तक ये पता नहीं क्या-क्या हम सीखते रहते थे राइट सो आई फील मतलब आई एम लाइक सुपर प्रो एआई लाइक अनलेस barring creative pursuits, right? I feel the creativity of an individual, but like for any place where it is more efficient than human being, like, and I see like in SEO, it's like amazing the kind of stuff you can do, right? धीरे-धीरे I'm starting to appreciate. Like for marketers, अगर आप नहीं कर रहे, तो मतलब it's easy to be puritanical and say कि नहीं, this is the right way to do it, and AI will take time and everything. But I'm just saying by the time the adoption comes, मतलब it's like LinkedIn पे अभी भी मेरे को दिखते हैं पैनल डिस्कशन हो रहे हैं जिसमें 3 बंदे बात कर रहे हैं डिजिटल इज द नेक्स्ट फ्रंटियर मैं कहा, क्या क्या बात कर रहे हो भाई मतलब लाइक सो मे बी द थिंग इज बाय द टाइम लॉट ऑफ पीपल लाइक वार्म आउट टू द अडॉप्शन ऑफ एआई आइदर इन एजुकेशन और इन मार्केटिंग कहानी इतनी आगे पहुंच चुकी होगी कि इट विल बी मे बी डिफिकल्ट फॉर ब्रांड्स टू कैच अप डू यू डू अ लॉट ऑफ एआई इन योर करंट रोल एट ओबेरॉय like is there any decent application?
So I think first of all, I think that statement, know, I don't agree if anyone today is doing enough in AI. I think the future would be that, you have AIPB kind of a framework, which is artificial intelligence for people and businesses kind of a framework. And sorry, I hold this pattern in my company, and hence I'm using some theory that I've coined in my company. And I debate with my seniors also that listen, AI should not just be a marketing piece, but also help in 5 other parameters to help the jobs of people get, जो grunt काम है, you can reduce that and also improve the businesses and the business operations. But anyways, coming back to your question, yes, we have been one of the earlier hoteling companies to integrate AI in our day-to-day operations. Is from a marketing perspective, if I tell you, we have plotted AI in the journey of the customer who comes, और marketing के perspective से जितनी भी हमारी segmentation activities होती हैं, to reach out to the customers via various CRM initiatives, emailing, messaging, etc. that happens, we use AI tools for that. So we have some huge databases, and उसमें से whatever databases that are supposed to be cut and retargeted or targeted, ये अब manual segmentation पे नहीं है. It's not कि देवांशु को अच्छा लगा कि विनबैक के लिए जो 2 साल तक नहीं आया उसको मेल भेज दो, तो सब वही भेज रहे हैं. We use proper logics, we use proper data to put it in, and then that's how we are going about it.
So now that we're talking about Oberoi, right? Like I just want to fast forward to that part of your career, right? Like I have a little bit of context on how luxury works in India, right? But I want to like hear a lot more from you. What's the most difficult part of like not the brand building part of it, but the day-to-day operational marketing part of it, of reaching out to people who don't want to be reached out.
No, but that's the answer. That reaching out to people who don't want to reach out is the most difficult part of it. Other than that, so again, that's the answer, but also you have to reach out to them. So the difficult part in my mind is to reach out to that particular person to ensure that your brand story is not diluted. You don't get into something which is very tactical and which is not necessary kind of messaging for that person. And uh, try to stay away from the day-to-day pressures of ensuring that the numbers are not being met or there is an occupancy delay or low occupancy in some of the hotel, and to ensure um, uh, that immediate fulfillment of that hotel या उसकी occupancy बढ़ाने के लिए you do some tactical campaign की 2 nights के साथ 3 night complimentary and all those kind of things. So how best to avoid to ensure that your brand messaging is not diluted, I think that is a tough job of a luxury marketer. Um, Luxury, by any chance, see, what is luxury? I'm sure there must be many definitions about it, but in my some years of luxury marketing that I've done, I would like to believe that it's a state of mind. It's basically something which you feel that makes you feel uber smart, or maybe uber intelligent, or maybe you made it. And then there is a once that whole self actualization you've reached, you start getting into things which really matter to you. So if I'm wearing a very high end shirt or something, it's not that I want to show it to people, and that's the reason that there are brands which are probably more expensive than the bridge to luxury, or other fashion brands which doesn't even reveal the name, because now I'm in that state that I'm doing it for myself. Zenia, for example, we both have worked for the last brand. Zenia is a brand in that state. I don't remember seeing something which says Zenia, 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 Zenia all over it.
Yeah.
Now, from that perspective, I think Oberoi is in that frame where we don't want people to come and say that, oh, I went to Oberoi, because they want to put it on Instagram, they want to put it on other social medias. The right profiling or the right audience for us is the people who understand and have a taste of what a high-end, let's say a cigar would smoke, taste like, or what a nice alcohol would taste like, or
Mm.
how a nicely curated menu is given by the chef, uh, customized and kept and trained for that particular property, and is serving you that food, or the smaller nuances of hospitality that you will enjoy once you're in that stage to appreciate these things. Then does that mean that I'm wrong if I go and check in and I put it on my Instagram? कि देखो मैं उबरो में रहा हूँ. So I don't think so that there's anything wrong with that, because again, there is a set of audience there also. So how well balanced your communication to ensure that this is something uh, where you're reminding them of the brand on a regular basis and inviting them to the hotel on a regular basis, but at the same time, this is where you fill your rooms. You also ensure that in lean months, this is the audience that also comes in, also helps you in promoting the name, etc. Uh, or doing campus like that. Other than that, I think luxury for me is uh, anything which is, the less it is, the more luxurious it is. Now, I'm making a very motherhood statement here, but
Mhm.
I've learned it from our chairman emeritus, who unfortunately passed away a couple of months back. November 14th, he passed away 2023.
Mm.
So I think his concept of luxury, he used to always say that um, from a hoteling perspective, that there should be height, uh, there should be a lot of light. So that's how he used to define luxury hospitality. So I think I'll quote him also to answer your question.
Very cool. I've always thought about it that from the outside in, of course, once you see any luxury brand, right, in fashion, hotels, watches, cars, right, एक यूनिवर्सल मेरे को एक चीज दिखती है, right? Like one is was that the car is positioned towards somebody who ends up buying it, like the Audi is for probably you, right? It's positioned towards Devanshu. But the guy who ends up buying it, like in the communication, there's like good looking people like you, but then in the guy who ends up buying it, वो सोना रोड पे रहता है, 4 किले जमीन बेची उसने ले ली, right? So मतलब which is the kind of fundamental disconnect. So like in all of Diesel, the brand that I worked on, right? So in Diesel, all of Diesel's communication, you had like the world's most good looking, imperfectly good looking people, but उसको पहनते कौन थे? Bookies, property dealers, anybody who has cash, right? Like so they had to buy shirts which were like 2 inches loose on the belly, and like you couldn't buy certain fits and everything else, because that's what the buyer used to do, because कि यार खरीदेगा तो वही ना. मतलब they'll be like a small 10% of people who will buy, the people you want to buy, but then the money drivers are people who want to look like those 10%. So the thing is, Gucci will have its couture collection, and they'll do all of those fancy things. But only people of a certain ethnicity will buy their diffusion codes. उसकी belt ले ली, bag ले लिया. क्योंकि core product तो ले नहीं सकते, right? Like so, and those are the ones which will do your high gross margin products, and they'll keep your kind of factory running, and they'll keep your salaries paid. Uh, so वो एक balance, I think that's always, which as a marketer, like I really struggle with, right? So that's a little different than what you said. Like you have to target the people who don't need to check in on Instagram. But मेरे को लगता है 10% लोग ऐसे, 90% लोगों को तो जाना. Like if I go to Oberoi, like I want to, like I'll stop people on the road and say मैं गया था, right? So or मेरे लिए that is an inherent part of the value that I'm deriving from the money that I paid. So
Correct. No, but listen, you spoke about diesel, and since you worked also, you would remember there was a whole campaign जो diesel ने किया था, that be foolish, I'm a foolish,
be
I'm
stupid,
stupid,
yeah.
something like that.
Be stupid,
Be stupid, be
yeah,
stupid. And I remember that there were some very quirky things that, I'm stupid, I'll take the stairs.
yeah.
I'm stupid, I'll work hard. Something, it was a full change, and I'm talking way back. And I don't think it was an Indian campaign, it was a brand
Globally,
campaign that global, yeah, it happened globally. Now, if you, the reason I'm picking that is, linking it to your property dealer and bookers and all that example that you gave me, that ब्रांड पर्सोनास पर्सपेक्टिव अगर आप देखें या वो उसको प्रिज्म के ऊपर वो जो कौन सा आफ्टर मॉडल के प्रिज्म के ऊपर उसको प्लेस करें, तो इवन द गाय हु मेड दैट कैंपेन, ही इज टॉकिंग अबाउट रिवॉल्यूशनाइजिंग एंड ट्राइंग टू डू समथिंग वेरी वेरी डिफरेंट.
Hmm.
ही इज नॉट सेइंग कि तुम जींस पहन लो. ही इज नॉट सेइंग कि तुम वो जो भी शर्ट घड़ियां जो भी आई थिंक वॉचेस एंड परफ्यूम्स आई थिंक केम
Right.
लेटर, इट्स स्टिल अ जीन ब्रांड,
Yeah.
राइट? सो while everybody is saying jeans 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 jeans, they are saying okay, do something different. And I remember ये joggers या वो जो पेंट गिरा होता था jeans के ऊपर, whatever that category was called, I think diesel was सबसे पहले they came into the segment. Now, what happened is they were reaching and aspiring for a particular customer. Now, I don't know what the current price of jeans is, but I remember diesel black gold used to be operating at some 50,000-60,000 rupees, and the regular
Black.
diesel was about 25,000-30,000.
Yeah.
अभी भी वही है?
नहीं,
Okay,
ब्लैक
so
गोल्ड
now
कम हो गया, बट नॉर्मल कोर डीजल एसपी इज लाइक 18-20 grand, and black gold even touches like a lakh or so for some
black
signature
was
pieces.
so अगर मैं diesel gold को out रखूं, black को मैं out रखूं, if I just talk about the core diesel as a product, now they had a bubble in which they were wanting to operate. Or similarly, though they're not comparable, but from an Oberoi marketing or brand perspective, there's a bubble that we try to operate with. Now, uske andar, that's the core value of the product. So, uske andar, you reach out to a person who's aspirational, and for him, buying a diesel jeans or staying in a Oberoi hotel is aspiration. Oberoi's may we believe, I think that's not the right, that's not the customer. The customer is, जिसके लिए, like I mentioned, the self-actualization state, that a good service is something that it's not that I desire or I want. I need that. That's the customer behind which we go. Similarly, I'm sure Diesel would have something which the marketing guys of Diesel would be able to say better. I'm just talking from an external perspective. But like whose philosophy ke around, you had this property guy who's coming and staying, and I also have this property. I also have this guy who's aspiring to be an Oberoi guest. ये तो spill factor है. But then the larger point is that let that property guy or let that aspirer also come and use the product. ठीक है. We are not reaching out to them, and that's where you are maintaining the brand saliency. But customers, इसके ऊपर अगर ये आते हैं तो there is absolutely no problem. I see. Yes, you must take steps, and that's where the product positioning or that's where the repricing comes in the picture to try to up your game or increase the prices of room nights to try and go back to the core audience as much as possible. But आज की डेट के अंदर, while Hindustan is a poor country, but हमारे पास काफी लोग हैं जिनके पास काफी पैसा है, लाख रुपए तो रूम नाइट देने का.
Yeah, it's like it's insane, and we keep hearing all of these India's consumption stories here and India's consumption stories there. But I think luxury में marketing, no, like, and correct me wherever I'm wrong, is that मेरे को लगता है it's like it's built in dichotomies. मतलब what I mean by that is, देखो आपको reach बढ़ानी भी है, but आपको reach limited भी रखें. आपको aspirational भी लगना है, but आपको intimidating नहीं लगना है. So each and every decision you make as a marketer, as a luxury marketer, like at least the experience that I had, कि you have to keep walking that bloody tightrope. और
Hmm.
इधर आप हो गए तो आप प्रॉपर्टी डीलर का ब्रांड बन गए, इधर आप हो गए तो आप स्नॉबिश बन गए. सो यू हैव टू जस्ट कीप मेकिंग श्योर दैट यू कीप इन द नंबर्स विदाउट दैट dreaded D word, right? Dilution. So how does, like, how do you look at this?
No, I think the in less is more. We try to refrain ourselves from being very openly present in, let's say, in the print sector. We very selectively advertise with a very very few magazines, and with a very few .coms to be present in front of very very relevant core audience. We try and ensure कि ज़्यादा वो 2+1 नाइट या 15-20%, मैं नहीं कह रहा कि वो करते नहीं है, बट वी ट्राई एंड मेक श्योर दैट वी डोंट डू दैट. वी ट्राई एंड मेक कंपेलिंग स्टोरीज फॉर द ब्रांड एंड टॉकिंग अबाउट दैट. डिजिटल के अंदर वेयर द वर्ल्ड एंड माय एजेंसी क्राइज की कॉल टू एक्शन सीटीए चाहिए, सीटीए चाहिए, सीटीए चाहिए, वी टेल देम दैट नो, वी विल नॉट डू बुक नाउ. बट there are newer ways of doing it. You give them a story of saying that, what about celebrating your anniversary there? What about celebrating your this, there, that, there? See, ultimately, it's, in fact, sorry, before I come to this point, uh, the recent thing is something that we're doing on the website. So far, I've designed like 1,000 websites in my career, and every time I've seen very, very closely the heat maps and what the behavior of the mouse is. Or uske basis pe what is the product that should be placed where. So my product teams have given me various recommendations. I've always sent them back, you give me data in these terms. In Oberoi, we are now working on a new website, which will be a new brand story. So we are ignoring the heat maps. There's a very prominent booking widget that is placed on the middle of the screen. We are
Yeah.
taking a very, very conscious effort of deleting that and just having book now on the top, on the navigation bar of the website. Those are some very, very decisions we made because as a group, we feel that somebody who wants us, he will find us. Once he finds us, वो ढूंढना कि book now कहाँ है या phone पे फ़ोन नंबर ढूँढ के चेक करना, वो इतना पीपल आर एजुकेटेड टुडे एंड देन व्हाई डोंट वी रीइन्वेंट द व्हील? व्हाई डोंट वी ट्राई एंड challenge ourselves further to say कि अच्छा वो widget निकाल के देखते हैं कितना कन्वर्जन ड्रॉप होता है। Because if we are able to prove in the next 3 months that उसको निकालने के बाद भी कन्वर्जन पे इम्पैक्ट नहीं आया, I mean immediately आएगा but after some point it will get stabilized.
Hmm.
That means as a brand story, as a luxury brand story, we have done the job yes.
Yeah, it's like super hard, right? I'm sure your agency must be like really frustrated कि हम क्या ROAS दिखाएं, क्या कैसे करें, मतलब what are the CPMs at which we are operating, and because it's like I feel every brand is trying to hit a cover drive with their hands, one hand tied behind their back, which is good, which is great, right? Which is what kind of creates some of the marketing in this space, right? Because it's like it's supposed to be super effective and like super targeted, and I think that's it. Uh, you just have to like just say the right things, but like finding the right audience without the spillover, like you spoke about. I think वही game है. So I'll tell you now, I get to talk to a lot of people in tech, a lot of people who do venture investing, right? So one thing which I very consistently hear from people whenever I talk about these categories and like consumption in this end of the pyramid, whether it is hotels or cars or fashion or whatever else, एक चीज बार बार सुनने को मिलती है कि बॉस द एड्रेसेबल मार्केट इज वेरी लो, very small, right?
Hmm,
Because एक जगह we
hmm,
are talking about some billions of people solving for Bharat and all of these lofty ideals which tech companies and venture investors like a lot, and the other end you're saying कि यार इधर depending on what model you prescribe to, या तो 1 मिलियन लोग हैं या 3 मिलियन लोग हैं, उसी के अंदर तुम्हारी पूरी दुनिया है. So they
correct,
get attracted towards this end of the pyramid, but I know for a fact and you know for a fact that there's like crazy amount of money to be made. So what's your take on this?
correct. So I think my take is number one, वो market को reach करना है to a full capacity and to ensure that your impressions or your reach is at least 7 times, 8 times, I think you need a lot of monies. So I don't know about tech, but or automobiles, but in fact, whatever I know of automobiles, they don't have those huge budgets. Hospitality doesn't have those huge budgets. So the game is always to segment and try to reach to the more core audience, जिसका likability of or the intent of conversion is shorter. The second part there is कि अगर आप अपनी वो वाली मार्केट को बढ़ाना ही चाहते हो, so you know that's where your top of funnel campaigns come into the picture, no? That's which are more of brand led campaigns where you're introducing a brand, where you're making somebody taste a brand. Now अब आपने कौन सी स्टेज के ऊपर where do you want to hit? Now that so I'll give you an example. So if I say that how many people can come and stay at a Oberoi Uday Vilas or an Oberoi Raj Vilas, right? I'm just naming these properties to give you an example. These are not the right numbers that I'm quoting. Uh, Now I say that okay, गर्मियों के महीने में उदयपुर जहाँ पे गर्मी में बैंड बजा हुआ है, how many people will actually be going and staying there? ठीक है? So then, uh, I will still have some number because of some movement that they've, and I'm talking digital right now. They must have shown some intent, some clicks they would have done, some conversations they would have entered into, because of which we know that okay, that's one segment that they have to reach. Now मेरा तो ये कहना है कि उसी को रीच कर लो, उसको रीच आप टैक्टिकल से करके अपनी रूम रेट बढ़ाओ. Now you say that मेरा वो नंबर ही पूरा हो गया, मुझे वो बढ़ाना है. Now that's where when you will get into affinity group targeting and try to look at people जो उस zone के चारों तरफ घूम रही है, and you try and introduce them to your product. Now back in the days, the reason या आज की डेट के अंदर भी प्रिंट पे बहुत फोकस है, तो ऑफ कोर्स द प्रिंट एडवर्टाइजमेंट हैज़ गॉन डाउन, मैक्सिमम एडवर्टाइजमेंट गॉन डाउन. अब तो ओटीटीज़ और ये नेटफ्लिक्स वगैरह के ऊपर पहले एड्स नहीं आते थे, अब तो इस पे भी आने शुरू हो गए हैं. इट्स अ सिंपल रीज़न बिकॉज़ यू नो नोबडी इज़ लुकिंग एट द टेलीविजन एंड क्लिकिंग ऑन दैट. आई एम श्योर आजकल वैसे देयर आर केसेस वेयर सैमसंग टीवीज़ के ऊपर जो दे गिव यू डेटा व्हेन दे गिव यू अ पिच, कि इतने लोग क्लिक करके मैं आपको इतनी कन्वर्जन दे सकता हूँ. बट द रियलिटी इज़ दैट यू आर ट्राइंग टू बी प्रेजेंट in the mind space of the person that you think is somebody who will be staying in an Oberoi hotel tomorrow. तो उसके बेसिस के ऊपर आप अपने अपर फनल कैंपेन्स करके उसको एजुकेट करो ब्रांड को, यूज़ पीआर एज़ अ स्ट्रांग मीडियम एंड ट्राई टू गेट हिम ऑन टू द होटल द नेक्स्ट टाइम.
Tough problem, no?
It is definitely a tough problem because nowhere that you don't want to get tactical at any point of time. Uh, you know, there is a difference. So let's say today if a Flipkart or an Amazon you do something वो पिक्सल ट्रैकिंग की वजह से everybody knows कि मैं एक फ़ोन देखने गया था, मुझे वो हर 10 जगह पे वही एड्स दिख रहे हैं. नाउ द मार्केटियर इन यू विल टेल यू कि यार यही चीज़ मैं कर देता हूँ, अगर कोई होटल आ गया मेरे ओबरॉयज़ की कोई प्रॉपर्टी पे देखने, तो अगर वो किसी ओटीटी पे जाए या किसी और वेबसाइट पे जाए, तो मैं उसको वही होटल दिखाता रहूँ.
Yeah, yeah.
बट देन द कॉमन फिलॉसफी और द ग्रुप फिलॉसफी ऑफ मार्केटिंग इन ओबरॉयज़ इज़ लेस इज़ मोर. Then how much do you want to show or why do you want to show? So yes, there are situations that you get stuck up there. But then again, वहाँ पे the brand, the corporate dharmas and the brand ideology, I think, is to be taken to overrule any such confusion. तभी ये डॉक्यूमेंट बनते हैं.
कभी ये नहीं लगा मतलब didn't you be like okay, dial back. I'll give you an example of a brand. Like there's a CMO that I know, and they had done this ad with Khali. Meme advertising चल रही है, ठीक है, मतलब जो meme marketing हो रहा है, Khali had done something funny for them. It was very off brand for them. It was a very super intelligent, minimalist, kind of tech forward kind of a brand, and they had done like a small meme campaign with Khali. So मैंने भेजा, like I sent it to him, like कि मेरे को सच सच बताओ ये आपने कैसे अप्रूव किया, मतलब so he was like कि हाँ यार you're right, कुछ चीजें मतलब some things are like founder pressure and some things are like you just do experiments which you're not fully convinced of. कभी कभी ऐसे नहीं लगता, like a lot of new things and new toys which are available, I'm not saying necessarily memes or anything, कभी कभी there are a lot of things which are like off brand. कभी कभी you feel tempted to have quick wins as a marketer and okay चलो experiment करके देखते हैं.
हमेशा, स्पेशली मैं वही तो बोल रहा हूँ, जो मैं ऑक्यूपेंसी का बता रहा था या मैं जो 2+1 ऑफर की बात कर रहा हूँ, it becomes very difficult because, the data is very clearly showing you, when you spoke about artificial intelligence, I was telling you that we've implemented them into all our CRM activities. It's a very nice machinery that we've made at every campaign that we do. हमें पता है कितने लोग उस पे क्लिक कर रहे हैं, कितने उस पे कन्वर्ट हो रहे हैं. So for me to see and drive a relation, that the moment I say exclusive offer for members, or if I say third night on us or third night on compliments or with a compliment, sorry, uh, they will do fantastically very well in terms of comparing it with the numbers of running a generic campaign like Spring is Here or Exotic Vacations or Unforgettable Himalayas. It's very clear. If you see something, so let's say my machine learning has helped me understand that basis on Harinder's movement, and if he's a guest of the past and if he stayed at, let's say, our Kolkata property or our Udaipur property, there's a very high probability because people who behave like Harinder, they will go to Shimla next.
हाँ,
So ये मेरी machine learning techniques ने मुझे बता दिया. Now I've identified the database and I've now sent an emailer to you.
हाँ,
ठीक है? Now you opened it is it could be a sign that you're the right segment. You opened it could also be a sign that you were sitting villa when that emailer came. It could also be a sign that you got very excited with the brand, and it could also be a sign that you got excited with the subject line. ठीक है?
yeah,
For the sake of just this discussion, because ये बहुत open ended हो जाएगा.
हाँ,
Just to tell you, just to stick to your question. अब उसपे अगर लिखा हुआ है कि थर्ड नाइट फ्रॉम आवर कॉम्प्लीमेंट्स या लिखा हुआ है अनफॉरगेटेबल हिमालयस, तो आपने खोल तो दोनों लिए. But when you click on something, because there is a time, it's a time bound offer. You have to make the booking in the next 4 days, 5 days. There is a set of benefits that you're getting. Uh, your interaction with my call center team or my shared services team would be probably lesser because you would say, okay, let me just quickly take the benefit of saving that third night, and मैं
हाँ,
वो बाकी चीजें देखता हूँ जाके स्टोर पे, होटल में.
हाँ,
Versus you click on that because the intent is there. जाना तो है मेरे को, but I haven't created that urgency or emergency for you.
हाँ.
You've looked at it, that property has got registered, uh, but your gestation, your closure cycle would be much longer. But then, as a brand, I will not start sending you 2+1, 2+1 for the rest of your life. And yes, and that's when it makes it more difficult because I cannot spoil the saliency. At the same time, I have to ensure that I've used you to convert in the best fashion. It's similar to one of the upcoming resorts of Oberoi's in Bandhavgarh and Rajgarh area, which should be announced by the end of this year. I mean, there's some fantastic properties coming. And when we were making the whole plan, from a promoter's perspective who own the hotels and from a management perspective where we are running the marketing and the operations, there are these numbers pressures that you're getting. At the same time, there are these saliency or brand level features that you have to maintain. So, it is walking on that tightrope, but then I think that's where years of experience and struggle comes into play to accept the right things at the right time and push the right or the wrong things at the right time.
You know what else helps in other than experience and tenure? Like things kept in your room by the sales team, introduced into your room by the sales team. Yeah. But anyways, like like a lot of these parties, especially at all of these luxury parties, with the same people show up, right? Like एक चीज बहुत बढ़िया, खाना बहुत बढ़िया होता है, and like and the liquor is always top notch, right? So it's always fun to like gate crash all of these, and like, I'll tell you why I love the brand
वो
Oberoi.
पार्टीज मेरे और मेरी टीम के लिए अच्छी नहीं होती है because we get a lot of these travel trade partners who will come with the long list कि तुमने मुझे ये करने नहीं दिया, ये बोलने नहीं दिया, ऑफर देने नहीं दिया. So
Yeah, so I can understand that frustration, but it's like super cool. So like I like super enjoyed this Devanshu, like super unfiltered. But like just tell me like one, just to close it out. Uh,
yeah,
if in 2024 Devanshu was 24 years old and you were starting out, right? Let's just say you're starting out at Maruti Suzuki. Uh, what would be different, like with the context you have now? To like, what would you do in the next 90 days to ensure that okay, now I'm set up? Like, how would your mental models change if you were 24 like today and starting out to be a great marketer?
I think while a lot of companies say digital first, even in 2024, I just feel if you are now talking about digital first, I think chhod do, you've already lost the battle. So, but for the sake of this example, I would want to go. So when I joined, back then I was more of a branding or a, you know, branding is a part of marketing, so I keep it branding kind of an intent I went with. Today, I will become a more of a digital auditor to see that, the various activities that are happening. Has somebody from the company actually gone and see? Are
Mm.
people seeing that when, somebody has to apply on a job portal for a particular company, the kind of fuck or the shit that they need to face to reach to the final button जब अपना job apply करना होता है. And as a professional, I have seen this with many companies. Even if you go on LinkedIn and you try and apply for a job, they take you to some page. वहाँ पे you have to make another login. वहाँ पे then you fill in your information, and finally a standard protocol after 10, 15, 20 days is okay. This is a standard mail that comes. Okay, we've given the opportunity to somebody else. Similarly, uh, we have a college internally which is called OCLD, Oberoi Center of Learning and Development. The same thing. People are leaving their profiles. How well are they able to leave their profiles there? Are they understanding how to do it? Uh, are they kicked about the kind of subjects that we are offering? Do they have that clarity? कि उन्होंने 10 जगह छोड़ा तो उन्होंने यहाँ भी छोड़ दिया और बोला अच्छा अगर फोन आएगा तो देखेंगे तब डिस्कस करेंगे.
Yeah.
And of course the website and of course the social media networks, etc., etc. So I think this Devanshu will probably take that lead of trying and studying the complete ecosystems of digital of Maruti to try and understand as to what the company was wanting to do versus where they are today. Have they been able to do a good job of that or not?
But what else? Like other than like being like super strong with digital and having an eye for detail, like what should they be like in general, like young marketers today?
Uh, I think I don't know other than that what will I do Harinder, because I think those are the things that I've probably continued to grow up with. Uh, you know, I think my understanding of research or comprehending the data has probably become better than what it was. Maybe I'll do some things there. But
Mm,
if there's something specific, you can probably ask me there. I don't have, it's a very
mm,
vanilla level question, so I don't have a very specific answer right now.
mm. No, I totally get it. Like in terms of work ethic, I was like hinting at that. Like in terms of work ethic, professionalism, and like sheer discipline and like getting shit done. Like something which is like more on the non-skill but like softer part of being a good professional. Like what would
No, I don't think that would, good you mentioned it because मेरे दिमाग में नहीं आता.
mm,
Because I think if you're clean, if you're ethical person yourself, I think that's the last thing that you need to be looking at. As it is when you're a younger 23, 24-year-old person, like a young boy in my team will be given the opportunity to present the budgets,
mm,
but controlling the budgets would be a filtered down process, leading all the way to me or any head of the marketing in any company. So I think that is something that I would definitely not think. I think I'll definitely go with the same rigor that probably I walked in my first office 20 years back, 21 years back, and try to assimilate things and try to give it my kind of a energy or my kind of a feel, and I think that's about it. बाकी आई थिंक इतनी जजमेंट होनी नहीं चाहिए. जजमेंट अपने काम पे रखे. एक फ्रेशर, एक नया बंदा, एक नया बच्चा और अपना काम ढंग से करे. जजमेंट करने के लिए दुनिया बड़ी हुई है, आप दुनिया आगे रखी हुई है. तो आई थिंक
सही
फोकस
बात है
लेस
यार।
ऑन दैट एंड फोकस मोर ऑन योरसेल्फ.
सब ये बोलते हैं यार कि यंग मार्केटर को ये भी होना चाहिए, वो भी होना चाहिए। वो सब कुछ अभी हो जाएगा क्या? मतलब टाइम तो दो
एग्जैक्टली.
भाई। हाँ, एक्चुअली राइट।
Correct.
या
And who is this person to be judging anyways? आज के डेट के अंदर marketing in the initial years has become a very general skill.
या
My sixth class six my daughter who's studying in class six would also now give me ज्ञान कि Instagram कैसे चलता है. She knows that social marketing is a function of my team.
या
She will show me various things कि ये क्यों नहीं कर रहे हो bro ये.
हुँ,
So everybody has an opinion today. और marketing की तो इन चीजों के अंदर जो marketing team की तो condition ही थोड़ी ऐसी है because everybody feels that they know better than the other person. So
या
I think, in my opinion, a marketer should wear those sparks on their eyes,
हुँ,
right, left, center, come dekhe.
हुँ।
Focus on your self development, focus on your self growth, and see how you can add value. Because once you've established that that's the value you're giving, that's when the respect comes. Once the respect comes, then you take a next level, and then you see other things around what you're supposed to.
That's really good. I think that's the best way to kind of close this out. Thank you so much, Devanshu. मेरे को तो देखो बहुत मजा आया आपसे बात करके, like connected on a lot of a lot of cool things and got your perspective, and also like a lot of commonalities that you and me have. So really hope like a lot of people listening to this take as much out of it as I did. And thank you so much. So folks, you can also DM Devanshu for coupon codes on Oberoi stays if you eventually कूपन कोड मांग लेना, एक तो पहले मेरे को दो, उसके बाद listeners को देना. But yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much, Harinder. I wish you and your channel all the very best as well. I think reliving the last few years, I also equally enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for making me a part of this.
Thank you so much. Thanks.